Hello.
How you doing?
Good. You watching the football game tonight?
I
The
just
NFL
watched a
game?
little bit. I just watched a little bit, but then I had to go out. I came back and I see that they postponed the game. The guy was injured. Yeah,
Yeah,
terrible.
he tackled the guy. He stood up
Yeah.
and then he just collapsed.
That's it. So they interviewed a guy, a doctor, thinks it might have been some kind of heart problem, that he might have had an aneurysm or something like that.
Oh, yeah, they're doing
That's
CPR on him, but I don't know
yeah,
what the
yeah.
latest is.
I mean, horrible.
But
Yeah, I mean,
I never saw them cancel a game.
no, and this is, I mean, really important game, but they all say, but that is much more important. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, this doesn't look good for the guy, especially if how long if he was out of oxygen for a long time. It could have
Well,
been.
they were doing. They didn't bring the CPR team out until a few minutes later. So
Yeah, that's right. If they would, they just, it never happened before. They say on the
really?
field. Yeah, they never happened before in the field before. Get injured. It's a leg or an arm or something like that, but that heals. So maybe stop his career. This guy's who knows if he'll even survive.
Oh,
yeah, that's what they said. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, that's what happened. Yeah. So
that's where they play.
yeah, that's why they're right. That's right. Yeah. If you're not for Cleveland, are you for Cincinnati? I was kind of rooting for Cincinnati. Yeah.
I don't care either way. I know they're both great teams.
The
Very
good teams,
quarterbacks.
right?
Yeah,
Good
both
quarterbacks. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Did you
whatever.
watch there was the Cotton Bowl earlier today?
Oh,
USC.
I didn't watch the game at
They
all, but
blew it. They were winning by 2 touchdowns.
Crazy in 5 minutes. I saw the reports. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, how'd they do it? So
there was a safety. I mean, they played sloppy. They were too cocky at the end.
Oh wow, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, and then they had the other one, Penn and Utah. I was watching a little bit of that.
The Utah quarterback got injured.
Oh, is that what happened?
The second half, and that was it.
Oh, that's what happened. Yeah. Okay.
I guess you didn't go to the parade.
Did you ever see it? Years ago, my
No.
wife and I went one time. It was amazing. I saw these floats are amazing. They're so creative.
Yeah,
they're so creative.
They're really early to get a good seat.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you have to buy it. I guess you can buy it.
You buy seats, yeah.
Yeah, if you buy, but you got so much traffic against.
Did the parade get rained out, or was it there?
No, it was perfect.
No,
it was beautiful.
It was perfect. It's always perfect weather.
Yeah. It was only rained till this afternoon. They rained this afternoon, but the parade was good. So, all right. Yeah.
Okay.
How's Israel? How's Israel doing? Good.
Israel's good. Yeah.
Beautiful. Shabbat Hashem. When are you coming back? When are you coming back?
We're coming back Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. All right, starting the mission now.
Nara Mayrasa, the girl is 12 years, between 12 and 12 and a half. Once a girl is 12 and a half, she's a bogeres, and she leaves the reshus of her father. But when between the ages of 12 and 12 and a half, if she's been given kiddushin, that's a limbo period where avia ubayla mefir nedareha, that if she makes a neder, her father and her husband can annul the nedarim that she makes. They have to do it together. If only one of them annulled it, it would not work. It has to be both of them. Says the Mishnah, Hefer Av lo Hefer Abal, Hefer Abav lo Hefer Av, and a mufer. If only one of them annulled it, it has to be a 24-hour period from when they hear the neder, that they have the right to annul it. If they don't say anything in the 24-hour period, it's makuyim. It's by their silence, basically makayim's the neder. but they have 24 hours to be made for it. Certainly, if one of the parties was Mekayim the Neder, then certainly the other party cannot annul it. So the Gemara says, Hainu Reisha. I mean, what's the Seifa, where it says if the father did it without the Baal, or the Baal did it without the father, it's Eina Mufra. I mean, that's the same thing. The Reisha says, Avia Upailam, if you're in a Dara, you need both of them. So, Ma'odasema O Avia Upailam. The Gemara argues, well, we could have understood it, or the father or the husband. But Kamash Malan, that no, that you need both.
What happens if one of them is away? I mean, do we give him 24 hours from the time the second one hears it? Let's say one's in China and one's in America. And this,
No, that's got to be the same day.
But if he's around to hear it, how can he possibly do it? I mean, they have to give them a chance to do it, to hear it. One of them, if one of them is, more than 24 hours away from the other person, so maybe.
I know, but if the neder takes hold for 24 hours, it cannot be mufer.
Yeah, but they did have a chance to be made for it, though.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true yet. We haven't seen that yet.
Right. Okay.
That yet. So I would hold on to that.
Okay.
But the Gemara now says, "Vein tzarich lo meshakim echad mehem." Certainly, if one of them was Mekayim the Neder, then the other one can't be made for it. So Lama li Mishnah. I mean, what do we need that for? Hashta yesh lemar hey for zeh below zeh lo klum. You started off by teaching me that if one of them annulled it without the other, it doesn't do anything. So kiyam echad man lama. I mean, certainly, if one of them is Mekayim, I don't need it. It's not going to be able to be annulled. Tzricha lemisnid, you have to teach that. So ki itzrich, we needed it for a case gondehefer echad mehem v'kiyam echad. One of them annulled it. One of them Mekayimed it. V'chazra Mekayim v'nishal ala kamoso. The party that was Mekayim went to a chacham to ask a shaila on the fact that he was Mekayim it, and he wants to reverse it. He wants to be mevatel his kiyum. Maybe that which he was Mekayim, he got rid of. And maybe the neder doesn't exist. The hafara has to be done together, by both of them at one time. If it's not mufer at one time, it doesn't go away. If, for example, one was Mekayim and then went to a chacham and had his kiyum went away. So there were two annulments, 12 hours apart. One was made for right away. The other was Mekayim, and then he went 12 hours later and had it annulled. Well, in the end, at 12 hours from now, there's two annulments. Doesn't work because you got to do hafora shneim v'asachas. And the Rambam and Yoredeya says the same thing. Ha'avor tzrichin lafim v'asachas in the same day. Al kol panim b'oso yom, as long as they do it in the same day. Aval im kiyim ha'av ha'oros es nedora, ava pishachos v'nishal ala kamen echol od lafim im hasheni. Cannot do it anymore. So yeah, the Meforshim responded, the Rosh, a little bit. The Achronim issued this thing, what Elazar was talking about. Im shama v'lo hefer me'es le'es harezu hakama. So it could be totally in the Shmiya. That means if He hadn't heard it yet. He has the right to annul it only until once he hears it. It's not mukir matamata. Where's the source for this halacha? Minolam. Amar Rabba, Amar Kra, V'im hayosi eli ish, undareha aleh. Hayo refers to kiddushin, right? If she's going to have kiddushin to a man, and she makes nedarim, then it says im biyom shmoa isha, right? If on the day that the husband heard, mikala narmarosa shavia ubayla mafir nedareha. From there, we see that the father and the Baal can be made from the Nador. Ema Haikra Benesuaksiv. Who says this has to do with the Nara Mayrasa? Maybe it refers to a woman who's had Nesuah. We have another pasuk for a married woman that a husband without the Baal is Mayfer. It says V'im beis isha nadara. If she lives in the house of a husband, so it must be that the prior psukim before that pasuk were dealing with an arusa only, just a woman who has got kiddushin only, and she's not in yet her base baila. She's really in the base aviyah, right? The first pasuk im hayosi eli ishun dare aleha. She's still in her father's house, but hayosi eli, she has kiddushin. So from there, the Chazal learned that they need both, and that it's not dealing with a nesua because there's another pasuk for that in Beis Isha. Right? Maybe both psukim are dealing with the married woman. Why would we need two psukim to teach me the same din? Maybe lememer she'ena bal mefer b'koidmin. Why? Once a Baal gets married, he can be made for any new nedorim she makes. But if the woman had made nedorim before she got married, the Baal doesn't have the power to annul prior premarital nedorim.
And nobody can early except her asking to be released.
Yes,
Okay.
she would have to go to a chacham like anybody else.
Okay.
But if you hold Ishtok Gufo, so she has the nether on herself. So Ishtok Gufo. So why wouldn't he be able to be to mavatal the nether that happened before? If you have that klal.
If you remember, we learned Ishtok Gufo only comes in very specific situations where we say this concept. It does. A person eats chazer. The wife doesn't get the aveira. She has her own mitzvahs. She has her own lavin. It's not. Ishtok Gufo works in certain areas, like near Hanukkah. Ishtok Gufo. But
Yeah, but you would think that the darim would. It's not a neder has to do with the husband afterwards. In other words, she made
it affects the husband, so that's why
it affects the husband.
Gives a 24-hour period. He should have known before he married her. He has to investigate whether she has nedarim on her. That's one of the processes they did pre-marriage. If he identified that she was a nadronis, he would marry her.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So the Gemara wanted to say that the two psukim are needed by a nesua to tell me that the Baal cannot be made for her prior nedarim. Now, obviously, Walter's Havamina was a good Havamina because they had a Havamina that maybe the Baal should be able to do it. So they needed a pasuk to say he can't do it. So Walter's concept is not, I don't know if it's because of Yishka Gerufo, but more because, yes, the Nedarim involve the husband. But L'chora, he's got to check on it before. So the Gemara says, V'lav Melish Mamino. I would think that we could learn it Memela. Because it says in Beis Isha Nadara, which from that pasuk alone is mashma that the Nadar that she made before she was in the Beis Isha, he can't be made for her. So you could have had one pasuk, basically, is what the Gemara is saying. That pasuk of Beis Isha, you would have understood from the language. But Ibo is saying,
No, so just lechora. Let's say he found out some kind of a neder which is egregious to him. He
can divorce her. He can divorce her.
And he doesn't have to pay her. He doesn't have to pay the ksuva.
Yes, it would be a kedushin b'tos.
Okay.
I think we're going to see that.
Okay, fine. Then I
It's the
understand.
same thing. It's the same thing like mumim shebeseser.
Say so. Yeah.
If
Okay.
he had some kind of mum,
Yeah. And he didn't know about it, but
it's kedushin
but
b'tos.
really he has to. It's you have this that you're supposed to check things. You have this in a document.
Buyer beware. Buyer beware.
Beware. So you have a document and but you didn't check it and you bought the piece of property. You can't go back. You can't go back. So how come by Kiddushin you have the right to go back? In other words, if in Mischar, we know that you can't go back.
Yeah, there is mekach tos. We learn Kiddushin from Mischar.
Mischar, I understand.
If they sell you something beyond 1/6, you're allowed to have a 1/6 margin profit, and if they overcharged you, you can go back and get your thing back, your money back. Mekach tos, and many other examples.
Yeah,
of
but
that.
there's other examples where you can't get your money back.
Yeah, if it wasn't a toes. If you can prove it wasn't a toes. Absolutely.
Now, if
But
you can prove
if you can
prove that, you can say to the person who bought it that you knew about this. In other words, you had an idea about it.
Yeah, you can accept, because let's say a person will buy a piece of real estate for above 1/6. But that's an exception. By karka. Ein oinoa bekarka, because of that. Because a person will want a piece of property even if he overpays it for certain reasons.
Listen, I know somebody who was taken to see a piece of property. They told him this is the property. The guy buys the piece of property. Then he goes to check, right? When he does the thing, checks with the broker, right? And the broker says, no. Your property's in the desert. This guy's property. I said, Mamish, what happened? Somebody told me this week. And there's no way you can go back. Once you even you have the duty to check. You have the duty to check. You can't just go back. If the property was a good deal, let's say there wasn't an union of 1/6, property doesn't have that. But let's say
if it doesn't fulfill the criteria of what a mekach tos is in a chanami, you cannot go back.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's a difficult piece of Gemara here with the neder here, because the woman can say, but you knew that. He meets this woman. I don't know. She always wears. I don't know. She doesn't eat. She doesn't whatever.
She's taking a neder that she doesn't eat meat. That would be an important neder that he could divorce her for, because that affects him.
But he went out to do dinner with her and he saw that she didn't eat meat. You
want to say that he should have known.
All right.
And, that could describe a situation which is it's not mekach tos, because he should have known. But we'll see if it's mamish
that's called due diligence, Walter.
Like a mum shebeseser. You can't check her out. Finally, when
check your wives out with due diligence, Mario. You can't go back after 50 years of marriage. Doesn't help out. They're bullish. Okay.
Nah, I didn't know that.
Rav Moshe Feinstein, after the war, undid Kiddushin. Not really Kiddushin b'tos, but it was like unhalacha Kiddushin. They said like when a man came back after the Holocaust and he was alive, and the woman had remarried. So there are famous cases where he undid the original kiddushin because the edim were a problem. They didn't have the kosher edim, and he annulled the original kiddushin. So there was no problem with mamzeris that the second woman had gotten married to. So it's very rare, and it's usually the Gadol Ador that has to do those cases because nobody else wants to touch those cases. Ema av l'chude mefer. The Gemara says maybe a father could annul his daughter's nedarim by himself. We're talking about the Nara Moirasa. Im kain v'asra isar beis avia. And it says Yani osa lamali. The pasuk that says she made a neder in the father's house. Yani osa, which lechor means he can annul it. Ashti yesh lomar bimkom arus mefer av l'chudei. So even though perhaps the father can be made for it, even though there's a guy, an arus in the picture. So shelo b'mokum arus, my boy, because the pasuk of Asra Isra Beis Avia Yani Osa refers to that a father has the right to be made for the nedarim of his daughter. We're talking about that when there's so why do you need to, if that pasuk was dealing with an arus, so when there's no arus, would I need a special pasuk to tell me you can do it? And I'll ask you another question. Ema avli boy ha'arus. Maybe it's more complicated. Arus l'chude mefer, but an av is the boy ha'arus. Maybe the man who gave kiddushin, he can do it by himself. It's only a father that needs the partnership of the arus. The chitema, maybe you'll answer. Av de kosev rachmana lamali. Why did the father bichlal? Why did the Torah even mention a father if the arus can do it himself? Well, there could have been a reason. Miboy lady e hakim. Maybe it told us that to give us that halacha that we learned already this morning, that if the father was making the neder, it's mukuyim, and the arus cannot do anything about it. Im kain, then we're back to another. Then basi shah nodara lamakasa. Then why did I need the pasuk of when she's in the house of her husband, Nadara, which we said before was referring to an Isha Nesua. Because we'd have a Kavachomer based on what we just said. Uma b'makom av orus mefer l'chude. If when there's a father, it doesn't make a difference. An orus can annul by himself. So then shalom b'makom of the boy. If there's no he's in the house, she's already moved in to the husband. Then there's no father in the picture. Why would you need a pasuk to tell me that? And I'm going to ask you a third shiloh. These are all shilohs that are piling up here. Ema, it says in Beisi Shonadara. You said that based on that pasuk, the arus maybe. You said that perhaps the man that gave kiddushin, she hasn't moved in yet. If you had a havamina that the arus could do it himself, and then it says in the pasuk in Beisi Shonadara, that seems to sort of limit the koach of the husband, not to expand it. We said before that pasuk was a limitation, not an expansion. It was to say that if there are marital Nedarim, he can't be made for him. So the Gemara answers Minei. Arus made for Bekoitman. In fact, maybe from this analysis, we would have been able to learn that the Arus can annul premarital Nedarim. Now, why should he be able to do that? She's not even in his rishus completely. And why should an Arus be able to do something that the Baal himself, once she's in the base Isha, can't do? So, Elalav, Ishum Shut V'Sida'av. Because the father is a partner at this point who has to annul along with the Arus. And the Ab doesn't have that limitation. And the father can annul prior Nedarim. And therefore we learn that the Arus by himself cannot mefer at all by himself. He needs the shutfus of the father. Okay. So this is an interest. It's going to be this parak has to do with annulment of daughters and girls and wives, things like that. So it'll be a new sugya for us.
Maybe we can find out some tricks.